Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready. What are we exploring today?
Well, today we're getting into a topic that I think is always kind of interesting. Um, Relationships with a big age gap.
Yeah, always sparks a lot of conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And, we're not talking like 5 years, 10 years. We're talking significant age gaps.
Okay, yeah, lay it on me. What kind of numbers are we thinking?
Well, our source material today, it actually comes from a YouTube video by Dr. Mannar.
Okay, I know Dr. Mannar. She's a sex therapist, right? Based in Miami.
That's right, yeah. And she uses this example of a 70-year-old man and a 20-year-old woman.
Okay, so a 50-year age gap. That's definitely significant.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one. And, I think right off the bat, my brain goes to all the challenges that come with that. But Dr. Manor is saying that these relationships, they can actually be valid.
That's interesting. I mean, I think it's easy to jump to conclusions when you see a big age gap like that.
Right. Like you make all these assumptions about the people involved.
Yeah, exactly. But Dr. Mannar, she's saying that these relationships can work, just like any other relationship. But there are some really important things that need to be in place.
Okay, so what are we talking about here? What needs to be there for these relationships to actually be healthy and successful?
So the biggest thing she talks about is informed consent.
Okay, so informed consent.
Mm,
Now, we hear that term a lot in different contexts, but what does it actually mean in this, in the context of a relationship with a big age gap?
right. It's more than just saying yes.
Yeah.
Both people really need to understand what they're getting into, like really understand.
So, like, what kind of conversations are we talking about? What are the things that these couples need to really think about and talk about up front?
Well, they have to think long term, right?
Hmm.
What are their expectations for the future? Things like end of life care. One partner might need that a lot sooner.
Oh, yeah.
Finances, huge one. How are they going to manage the money, especially if one person is retired and the other is still working?
I mean,
And then, of course, there's the potential for health issues.
oh, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. One partner might be dealing with age-related health problems while the other is still relatively young and healthy.
Exactly. So it's about acknowledging these differences and making conscious choices together, not just sort of falling into something without really thinking it through.
It's such a good point. It's almost like they need to have a level of planning and communication that other couples might not face for years.
Absolutely.
It's a lot to kind of wrap your head around.
Mm.
But I'm also wondering about the connection, in these relationships. How do you build a strong bond when you have such a significant age gap?
It's a good question. Sometimes it comes from unexpected places. Like Dr. Mannar, she talks about couples who find common ground in, say, philanthropy, right? They both really care about giving back.
Okay, that's a good example.
Or maybe they're both going through career changes. Like maybe they're starting businesses later in life.
Yeah.
Or one is retired and the other's just starting.
I see. So there can be these parallels in their life stages, even if chronologically they're in very different places.
Exactly. And sometimes there's even this mentor-mentee kind of dynamic,
Well, that's interesting.
where they can learn from each other. One partner might have all this experience to share.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But beyond shared interests, it all boils down to communication, right? Being open and honest with each other, respecting each other's perspectives, and really listening.
Absolutely. And you talking about different perspectives makes me think about how these couples are often perceived by society. We can't ignore those judgments and stereotypes that are out there about age gap
Oh,
relationships.
totally. There's so much baggage that comes with it.
What are some of the common things you hear?
I mean, you've got the classic gold digger stereotype, right? People assuming that the younger person is just in it for the money.
Yeah, you hear that one a lot.
And then there are all the assumptions about midlife crises, like the older person is just trying to recapture their youth.
Yeah, or that they're, not in their right mind or something.
Exactly. Like these relationships are somehow less valid, less genuine than others. And it can be a lot to deal with, for the couple.
Oh, for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, can you imagine having to constantly defend your relationship to other people? Like, why are you together? What's wrong with you?
It's exhausting. It can lead to social isolation, problems with family, even just awkward moments in everyday life. It takes a lot of strength to push through that.
Definitely. It really makes you think about where those judgments come from. Are they like based in any reality? Or are they just these outdated societal norms that we haven't really questioned?
Yeah, like what if we could strip away all of that baggage, all the assumptions, the stereotypes? What would be left at the core of these relationships? What are the genuine challenges and opportunities, regardless of age?
Yeah, like if we could just see beyond the number, would our perceptions of these relationships change at all?
That's the big question. I think it's something Dr. Manar wants us all to think about, to challenge our own biases, and to consider that love and connection, they can exist in all sorts of forms, even ones that might make us uncomfortable initially.
So what are we left with here at the end of the day? Like, what's the takeaway for our listeners?
Well, I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Communication, respect, understanding, those are the foundation of any successful relationship.
Whether there's an age gap or not. So
Exactly.
the next time you see a couple with a significant age difference, maybe don't jump to conclusions. Take a moment to think about what we've talked about today and just ask yourself, what if
Love is love.
love is love? All right, everyone, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you then.